Batman on Wii U. That was a bit weird. Remember not too long ago when this little title called Batman Arkham Asylum was released for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, and then just a few years after, the even better Arkham City came out for those exact same systems? And then, for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, Arkham Knight came out, finally wrapping up this pretty damn awesome trilogy about the Dark Knight and his struggles. Well, surprisingly, this actually isn't just a trilogy. There was a fourth game, a prequel set before the events of Asylum. That game is, of course, Batman Arkham Origins. It came out for the Wii U, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3, but was never ported to the PS4 or Xbox One. And after playing it again for this review, I can kinda tell why. Now, despite the Wii U having, honestly, one of the more unique controllers in the gaming market, an obvious forerunner to what the Nintendo Switch would eventually turn out to be, it really didn't do that well. So having an entry in the wildly popular Batman Arkham series come to this floundering system was a much needed piece of third-party support. With that being said, gather around fellow nerds, let's discuss Batman Arkham Origins on the Wii U. I'm gonna break something one of those days doing that. So Batman Arkham Origins picks up in Gotham City on Christmas Eve, about 2 years into Bruce Wayne's whole Batman thing. He hasn't really built up a reputation as being the Caped Crusader at the Dark Knight, but he has enough of a name going for him so that not only are the small-time villains starting to get a lot more nervous at night, but some of the bigger names in the Gotham crime scene are starting to want him dead. On this Christmas Eve night, Batman goes out to Blackgate Prison to try and help the Gotham police force recapture Black Mask, who is currently the biggest face in the Gotham crime scene.
All units, code 10 at Blackgate Prison. Communication is down, possible 211.
Delta 6-4 en route. Dispatch 5-9, confirm code 10, this is a breakout.
Suspect identified as Black Mask. Repeat, code 10 suspect is Black Mask.
After running around the prison for a bit, and meeting Killer Croc for the first time, you find out that Black Mask has actually hired 7 different assassins to track down Batman and kill him on Christmas Eve night for a reward of... Initially, Batman simply tries to track down each of these assassins, prevent them from killing him, rein in Black Mask from his wave of terror on Christmas Eve, and restore peace to Gotham for the holiday. However, it doesn't take long for him to realize that something is kind of fishy here. It turns out that Black Mask wasn't behind this whole thing at all. It was actually a young Joker coming to Gotham City for the first time, who kidnaps Black Mask, puts out the bounty call for these assassins, and then through chaos and your typical Joker stuff, him and Batman end up meeting for the very first time.
This fruitcake is fantastic! Anyone want a piece?
This right here is one of the biggest strengths and draws to Origin's story. Seeing a young and inexperienced Batman sort of rush headlong into meeting these big-time villains for the first time and not really knowing how to handle them. Now, this does unfortunately mean that some of these first encounters kind of just seem forced in, like a young Riddler being called Enigma, and they're just having to be, you know, Riddler trophies, but not really, but they're still Riddler trophies, and they're only put in because Asylum and City did it, so Origins better do it too. But on the flip side of that, it does give us some really memorable exchanges.
Whoever wins is gonna be famous and rich.
At least we know he won't be ugly.
Between Batman and Deathstroke clashing for the first time.
Brilliant man!
As well as this awesome sequence where you get inside Joker's head and kind of see how he visualizes himself and Batman during his first therapy session with the young Dr. Harley Quinzel. And from that you kind of get to see him slowly twisting her into eventually becoming Harley Quinn.
The hand of fate at work.
So now you see fate differently?
Absolutely. Now you understand there are no chance encounters. It was all meant to be. Everything leading up to who I've met tonight.
So you've met someone special?
Yes. And you might say it's changed everything.
It is a bit disappointing how the story does kind of just settle into yet another Batman versus Joker setup, but I think it's interesting enough to see him go at it for the first time that I can sort of forgive it. By far the most interesting aspect of the story is not only Batman's interactions with these assassins, but also the interactions between Batman and Alfred, especially how Alfred still really isn't behind Bruce Wayne's whole double life vigilante thing, and how several times throughout the game in the Batcave, Alfred is actually trying to convince Bruce Wayne to give up this whole double lifestyle and just live out his life in luxury with the money and the mansion that his parents gave him. It leads to some genuinely touching moments, especially near the end of the game.
Master Bruce, stop! Master Bruce! Bruce!
What are you?
I will not in good conscience allow you to go! You're outmatched by these assassins.
What?
You're not some hardened vigilante. You're a young man with a trust fund and too much anger. You're in over your head, and I don't want this to be your end.
Alfred, who do you see when you look at me? The boy whose shoes you used to tie every morning? The teenager you drove to his first date? While you are here every night, I am out there. The only thing between the innocent and the predatory.
Be.
No, not may be. I am. When the mugger or the thief stops to think twice, that is fear. That is what I am. That is why they hired assassins, because I am the reason the criminals breathe easier when the sun rises. So no, Alfred, I am not in over my head. Tonight will not be my end, but it will be theirs.
Now, concerning the assassin's role in the story, some of them, like the previously mentioned Killer Croc, Deathstroke, as well as Copperhead, are all really cool, and they lead to some really awesome boss fights. Even though Deathstroke's boss fight is, and I agree with everyone else on here, way too early in the game. He's out of it far too soon. They should have saved him for last and really built up this character. Still a cool boss fight, though.
Such a bitch.
While two of the assassins, Deadshot and Shiva, are actually completely missable. They're relegated to being side quest villains, and if you don't actually pursue the side quest options when they pop up, you can completely miss these story beats. It doesn't impact the overall plot, but it's still kind of lame that they made two of these assassins, two of the big seven of the game, just relegated to side villains. Is it 8 or 7? Oh, I'm an idiot. It's actually 8 assassins, not 7. Whoops!
That was unsatisfying.
But in my opinion, the two best assassins to deal with are Firefly and Bane. Firefly is this pyromaniac who has burns over 90% of his body, a jetpack, and a flamethrower. He actually ends up taking control of this big-ass suspension bridge, which is kind of the centerpiece of the map in this game. And through this like half-hour sequence of not only saving the bridge from explosives and also fighting Firefly in another pretty cool boss fight, you end up taking him down and seeing Batman's first true cooperation sequence with a young Captain Gordon.
Didn't listen.
I'm not big on taking orders from wanted men.
I'm not big on taking orders from cops. I should have gotten to that last bomb.
Yeah. And I should have given you access to that security door. But between the two of us, we covered it pretty well.
Now the stellar boss in this game is Bane. You end up fighting him actually 3 separate times throughout the game, and each one is a bit different. The first time, he's just kind of your standard assassin battle on this rooftop with the Joker overlooking, and he is pretty tough to fight. Part of it is kind of the wonky control scheme, which I'll get to later, but trust me, playing an action-packed beat-em-up which heavily relies on combos and blocking on this controller setup is not the most enjoyable thing in the world. The second boss fight is kind of more the same with some minions thrown in, but then the final one with Bane is when he just totally lets loose on the venom, and you actually have to play stealthily and use your intellect as Batman instead of just brute force while you're actually on a timer. And if you don't beat him before the timer is up, it's game over.
You will defend again. Show your face. Get off!
of you who know me will probably know that when it comes to stories and anything, especially films, I notice plot holes instantly. However, when it comes to superhero-based video games, I'm ironically a bit more forgiving. Maybe it's only a Batman thing, because he's really been the only superhero I've gotten heavily into, but the story here flows well. It's nice. There aren't any gaping plot holes, even though the assassins are seriously underwhelming.
I'm looking for Black Mask. Where is he?
I ain't here to talk. I'm here to kick your ass.
This is your last chance.
You motherfuckers gonna listen in pain. I know. Intimidate.
Who wants to show me where the Penguin is?
The two actors who normally portray the Joker and Bruce Wayne in the animated series and video games don't reprise their roles here, since it wouldn't really make sense if the video game is based on younger ones. The guys who do portray the younger versions, though, do a damn good impression of what the younger version of these characters would look like. Though in the Joker's case, Troy Baker sometimes sounds like he's trying a bit too hard to imitate Mark Hamill. I don't know, maybe it's just me.
It's been you this whole time. You hired the assassins. You've been running Sionis' operation.
Well, technically it's my operation now. Isn't that right, boys?
You've got me. Now let her go.
Oh, life would be so simple if you were all I wanted. No, you're just a teeny little distraction compared to what I've got up my sleeve.
Now let's go and talk about the graphics here. Being that I own the Wii U version, I've got mixed feelings on how the game looks and performs. Even though it was part of the 8th generation, standing right next to the PS4 and Xbox One, the Wii U was seriously underpowered when compared to those two. It was slightly more powerful than the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, but it doesn't really feel like the developers remembered that when creating the Wii U version. There's some hilariously awful texture popping in this game. Just look at this.
Get yourselves into position.
And some of the in-game cutscenes look pretty terrible too. I'm talking like 2005 Xbox 360 level in-game cutscenes here.
A murderer.
But there's no justice in this.
What do you know of justice? Behind bars or beyond them, these people never change. As long as they live, Gotham is stained.
This isn't the way.
And here I thought you might understand. Still, the test must continue. Meet me at Sheldon Park.
There's also fairly frequent frame dropping, as well as the game even crashing on me once. That was annoying. Surprisingly, the Wii U version is apparently the more stable of the three. Yet, alongside with all this kind of terribleness in the graphical department, there's also some really damn good looking pre-rendered cutscenes.
You do realize it is Christmas Eve, sir?
And on more occasions than not, the game world just looks damn good. Detective Vision looks really cool. The different districts you get to explore in Gotham City look really good, especially when snow flurries or sometimes full-out blizzards are going everywhere at night and the lighting is just right. And controlling Batman as he glides around the streets and everything is enjoyable to watch when the frame rate and graphical pop-ins cooperate with you and don't interrupt the overall experience. So now let's talk about the most important aspect of any video game, the actual gameplay. How does it feel to play? Is it fun? Well, if you played Arkham Asylum or City, the combat is exactly the same. Using one or two buttons to punch, kick, slam, grab, and sort of hilariously fly across the battlefield to another target. It always makes me laugh seeing Batman perform these Superman feats of agility. Just zoom, zoom! Like, how does he even do that? Does he have bat springs in his bat boots? I brought up playing the game on this controller, and there is something I really have to say. Again, I haven't played the 360 or PS3 versions, but on the Wii U version, there seems to be a problem with the counter button. Whenever the counter prompt will come up in combat, I swear, I would press X, the counter button on this controller, and half the time it really wouldn't respond, causing me to get broken out of a really high combo chain or to end up dying when I really shouldn't have. Now keep in mind, for this review, I played through the game on normal difficulty, and even on normal, I can't tell if it's control issues or just the AI, but Arkham Origins is kinda difficult.
You should be dead! Trouble breathing, Batman?
Now, just like in Asylum and City, you do earn XP in the form of bats, which just somehow spring out of your enemies when you defeat them and they fly into you. And you can use this XP to unlock new abilities and items, like extra armor for your bat suit to better withstand melee weapons or gunshots, or new abilities for combat, like using your grappling hook in your combos, or a glue grenade to temporarily stun enemies. New ways to stealth take down people in detective mode, or while hanging off of gargoyles, that kind of stuff. It's typical for the series. And while some of the gear and abilities you find in this game are pretty cool, a few of them just kind of feel like one-use items, really only existing to further the plot along or to help you access shortcuts to get through areas that you're backtracking through a bit quicker. The big issue I have here, though, is that Gotham is divided into these two, I'll just kind of say like squares of territory connected by this one big bridge. The bridge is pretty long, and until Batman just remembers he has a grapple accelerator to use, crossing it can take a few minutes. To counter this, you can unlock fast travel points for your Batwing by completing certain side objectives. Unfortunately, some of these fast travel points literally only serve to give you access to the side quests. So if you don't feel like doing the side quest, you won't ever actually explore the entirety of the city.
Well, well, if it isn't the King Thug himself. Figured it was only a matter of time before you showed up. Sorry about the mess downstairs.
Before I go into my final thoughts, I do want to bring up that the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 versions of this game also had a multiplayer mode, where one side would be Batman or Robin, and the other side would be Black Masks or the Joker's thugs trying to hunt them down, and vice versa. The Wii U version didn't have that. Instead, it had challenge mode, where you unlock maps throughout the main story progress, and you either have to, beat down a certain amount of thugs in a time limit, or go without detection and sneak to an area, or use certain gear to take out X amount of thugs or whatnot. It's a cool little addition to give the game some longevity, but if you're like me and you personally don't enjoy challenge modes at all, they just seem pointless. And I wish more development time would have been given to fixing the damn texture pop-in! At the end of it all, though, I'm going to give Batman Arkham Origins a 7.0 out of 10. It's a good game. The main reason being just how intriguing the story is to play through. Sometimes it is a bit of a mess on a technical level, and the combat, while still certainly fun in that Batman Arkham series way, does flounder a bit on the Wii U. If you have the other versions of the game, let me know if it's any better, but for me, it was sometimes wonky. If you played the other entries in this franchise and you haven't played Origins yet, and if you're a Batman fan like I am, I'd recommend picking it up. If you're not that big of a superhero fan, and you're looking for something from the previous generation to add to your collection, or you're still looking for something to add to your Wii U library, I'd maybe recommend picking this one up if you can find it cheap enough. If not, then just pass. As always though, thanks for watching this video, and
You were very cordially,
you were very cordially invited to a party.
Kitty's not happy. Hey guys, I just wanted to say thanks for the support that you've been giving me since I started this channel in the middle of this year after my previous band fell apart. I know there aren't a whole lot of us in my little community, but I appreciate all the support you've been giving me, and so does Kitty. Say hi, Kitty! Hi, Kitty! I was sleeping and I woke it up. But yeah, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and also please share the channel around so that in 2018 we can hopefully try and reach maybe 200. That's my goal. I have 200 subscribers by the end of 2018. Not a very big one, but there's my level of self-confidence for you. Okay, I'll put you down.
I bet you never expected the end to come like this.